Hey folks, welcome to another Movie News Monday, where every single Monday live on Twitch, we review the latest news in the world of entertainment, film, television, MCU, DCU, all the U's. I am your host here, Jupy Gorg, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so every week you can check out all the latest news that go on in the world of entertainment. So in the meantime, we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into it, starting with a live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Last Ronin movie is still in the works, and the film will be rated R. This is awesome. This is awesome. As somebody who grew up loosely a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I have always had a lot of love and respect for the franchise. It's very comic booky. It's very superhero, it's very sci-fi, and if you could just get on board with the premise, it's such a fun time. From what I know, The Last Ronin is a story that follows the last remaining Ninja Turtle after all the brothers have been killed off. It's a bit of a post-apocalyptic sort of Elseworlds story, and this is essentially Logan for the Ninja Turtles. So there's a lot of speculation as far as who would direct the movie, who would star in the movie. It being a live action interpretation obviously brings up a lot of questions of what the turtle will look like. I say turtles, but you know, the whole point is that it's just the one left. Obviously, I think there's a lot of nostalgia for the old way that the Ninja Turtles were done in the classic movies. I know that's what I grew up on. There's the Michael Bay rendition that we had a few years back that maybe folks like to forget about. But the TMNT have had a lot of success in the world of animation. The latest animated movie I thought was an absolute blast. I hope we get to see that continue in some way, shape, or form. But in either case, an R-rated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, I could actually see this working. They just have to take the delicate balance of, you know, how seriously they take themselves. It being R-rated could be the best or worst thing that happens to this movie. So I got my eyes on this one for sure. I'm very curious to see who they nail down as a director, who they nail down to star in this thing. I am very eager to watch and excited to learn more about this story. I have been trying to stay away from the comic book specifically because I know that we are getting this film, and I believe there's also a Last Ronin video games in the works. So lots of excitement in the TMNT world. I'll be not first in line, but I'll be there to check it out. What about you? Are you looking forward to a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Last Ronin rated R movie? Is that something you would show up for? Do you go to the theaters for that one? Do you catch it on streaming? Very curious to hear your thoughts. Star Trek is on its way back. Paramount recently had a new press briefing in light of their recent completed merger with Skydance, or I guess their acquisition by Skydance. And they did confirm that 2 Star Trek films are in development at Paramount. One would be with Captain Kirk and the rest of the crew returning, and one would be featuring new characters with Andor director Toby Haynes attached. This is really promising. J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot production company is returning to produce both of these, so it's a promising sign if you were a fan of the Chris Pine-led Star Trek films. I'm curious by the phrasing of Captain Kirk and the rest of the crew returning, given that I don't know if they mean the characters, or I don't know if they mean this specific set of Captain Kirk and the crew. I think that, you know, Chris Pine and Zoe Saldana and some of the other cast members whose names are escaping my mind right now did an incredible job with that franchise. I was never a Star Trek fan myself growing up. I know that might be hard to believe. You know, I grew up in Latin America. Star Trek was not nearly as big as Star Wars there, so it just didn't quite make it into my radar. That being said, my first actual exposure into the Star Trek world was the 2011 J.J. Abrams reboot, and I thought it was a really well done sci-fi movie, and I loved that it kind of blended the canon and not canon components of the original TV series due to time travel shenanigans. All that being said, 2 concurrent films going on at the same time, one with the main crew, one with new characters, I think has the potential to be tricky, and I think might set folks up to expect, oh, well, is this crossover? Is this a cinematic universe? What am I going to have to do here to get it? General audiences could be confused, but I think the folks who are fans of Star Trek have known for years that Star Trek kind of exists concurrently, given that that's what's been happening in television on Paramount Plus or CBS All Access, RIP, back when they started the Picard show, or some of the other more recent Star Trek television shows and animated shows. So I think for the Star Trek fans, this is great news. For general audiences, be on the lookout for more in the crew of the Enterprise and so on and so forth. People from Andor carrying over to Star Trek is interesting. I think Andor is incredible, but what makes Star Wars and Star Trek kind of so different is that Star Wars is kind of a storytelling mechanic to speak to the dangers of fascism and the dangers of imperialism and rebellion and those sort of storytellings, whereas Star Trek is kind of like a utopian society and peacekeeping and a altruistic police force that is keeping things on the right path in service of everything. So they're kind of on the opposite ends, ideally, or ideologically, so to speak. So I'd be very interested to see how a successful filmmaking team from one franchise can join the other. So would you show up to go see Star Trek movies in the theaters? I think personally, unless they get a really exciting creative team behind it, I don't know that I'm immediately sold, especially since I'm paying for Paramount Plus and I might as well get my money's worth and catch it on streaming. But if you're a fan of Star Trek, I'd love to know if this is something that gets you hyped up. Now, this is something that I certainly did not expect. Sir Ian McKellen confirms that Frodo will appear in The Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum. If this is news to you, hello, we are getting another Lord of the Rings movie, technically a Lord of the Rings sequel. Andy Serkis, who came to fame by portraying Gollum / Smeagol in the original Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings franchise, is returning to direct The Hunt for Gollum, which is a new story set in the world of The Lord of the Rings. Sir Ian McKellen is returning to play Gandalf in that movie. Obviously, Andy Serkis will be portraying Gollum again. And it appears that Sir Ian McKellen is confirming that Frodo is returning, that Elijah Wood is returning. We actually have a little video here that we can watch, because this was recorded and posted on TikTok and Reddit from a panel. So let's just hear it from Sir Ian McKellen himself.
Well, I hear there's going to be another movie set in Middle Earth. And it's going to start filming in May. It's going to be directed by Gollum, and it's all about Gollum.
All right, so we hear that they're going to start filming in May of 2026, directed and starring Gollum.
But I'll tell you 2 secrets about the casting.
2 secrets.
There's a character in the movie called Frodo. And there's another character called Gandalf. And apart from that, my lips are sealed.
So that's fun. I mean, you can't not be excited to hear it from Sir Ian himself, and seeing some of the other Lord of the Rings cast in the background hyping him up and being so excited. You know, not to... Yeah, actually, Kat in chat, that's exactly what I was going to talk about too. Like, not to yuck anybody's yum about being excited for this, but I don't know that folks are asking for more Lord of the Rings. so I don't know what this is besides nostalgia bait. As far as I'm aware, the Lord of the Rings franchise has not been doing super well in the public eye. The Lord of the Rings Amazon Prime series has much lower turnout than expected. They had an animated movie recently premiered that did not do big numbers. Let us not forget that the original Lord of the Rings trilogy saved Warner Brothers from financial hardships, was an incredible achievement in modern filmmaking. It has absolutely revolutionized so much of what we come to know as standard filmmaking techniques, storytelling tactics, VFX, practical effects. So much we owe to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That being said, I don't know that folks are asking for more, and I do understand that Lord of the Rings fans and people who love Middle-earth and love the Tolkienverse are very loyal to their canon and very loyal to that world. So I don't know how kindly they will take to a sequel in this realm. Obviously, Warner Brothers is aching for a big franchise that they can have on the big screen repeatedly. So something like Lord of the Rings going back to the big screens could be a big hit. But yeah, I don't know that people are really asking for this. So if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, I'd really love to know if this is something that gets you excited. If you're not a fan for Lord of the Rings, what do you feel about more movies coming out? Is this one that you go see knowing that it's a sequel? Does it mean you have to watch everything? Yeah, exactly. Does this just feel like tarnishing the original for a cash grab, or does this feel like it's actually got potential to be something else? I'm very curious. I think honestly, for me, I like the originals enough that I will probably see this, and I will probably be excited for this if the story looks promising, but I'm not looking forward to it, if that makes sense. If a trailer comes out and I'm like, oh, actually, this looks awesome, I'm happy to be excited for it, but I have no reason to be excited for it yet. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. I don't know. We'll see. Next up here, the Duffer Brothers are officially exiting their Netflix contract early. Now, this was not news that anybody, I think, was expecting, but if you ask me, I'm not entirely surprised. The Duffer Brothers have been working with Netflix for over a decade now, strictly on Stranger Things, and there's been a million different reasons as to why that franchise has taken forever to wrap up. I mean, we're talking 5 seasons in 10 years. We've had pandemics, we've had strikes, we've had contract negotiations, so many different things. Ultimately, I think the biggest blame here goes to the streaming model and how slow it is to get productions up and running. That being said, the Duffer Brothers are exiting their Netflix contract early so that they can go work with Paramount. They are signing a first look deal with Paramount to develop theatrical films, and it is not more Stranger Things. Look, I love the first few seasons of Stranger Things. Honestly, every time I watch it and every time the new seasons come out, I'm like, oh, this show is great, but I'm so separated from it because it takes so long to get more content that my heart's just not in it. I am looking forward to seeing how everything wraps up, but that being said, the Duffer Brothers have been in Stranger Things land for a very long time, with developing spin-off shows, developing the actual show itself, the stage productions, all these other things. Yeah, the kids are basically full-blown adults. The fact that Eleven from Stranger Things is married and talking about raising children now is crazy to me. And so all that to say, much respect to the Duffer Brothers for wanting to move on to the next thing. I think they deserve whatever comes next as far as as far as what they're developing. But it'll be cool to see them move on to develop theatrical films. I think that maybe what the Duffer Brothers really need right now is movies and stories that they can tell concisely in a single sitting, rather than these long drawn out sort of mystery box television shows. So I have no idea what the Duffer Brothers have coming up next. I will be cautiously optimistic to see what they have, given that Stranger Things was such a success. But I think I'm also just ready for Stranger Things to die out. I also think that Netflix is doing a horrible job with the release windows for Stranger Things. I don't know if y'all saw, but Stranger Things is coming out in 2 parts. It's coming out part 1 on Thanksgiving Day and part 2 on, I think, Christmas Day or New Year's Day, which, like, why? Why are you letting national holidays overtake the conversation? Like, I guess they're assuming that everybody's going to be home so they can finally log on to their Netflix accounts because they got kicked out for not being in the same location as their primary Netflix account. The 2-time release structure is awful. They're doing that with Wednesday right now. And I see your point about money, but would you not get more money or maybe the same amount of money doing a weekly release structure or even a bi-weekly release structure? Like, because the excuse could be like, oh, well, part 1 in November, part 2 in December, so you have to pay for 2 months of Netflix. But even if you premiere on Thanksgiving and do weekly releases, that's still 2 months of subscriptions. Yeah, it's still 2 months of subscriptions, but you're keeping the conversation going. I just don't know that the all-at-once model is working for streamers the same way now. I feel like conversations are the internet conversation moves on so quickly that we actually benefit from some of these big shows being weekly releases. I think about the first season of House of Dragons. I think about The Last of Us, about Andor, about some of these other... Andor actually is a different example. I'll circle back to that. But a lot of these shows, WandaVision being weekly releases, like, you're looking forward to being online and having that conversation. But even something like Andor, which released 3-episode arcs for season 2, 3 episodes once a week, even that made sense, right? Even someone like that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't like this, like, holiday drop schedule. I get it. You're getting more subscriptions. You're getting more, you're getting more people sticking around, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Now, I know that we're in the phase of horror really taking over the conversation in movie theaters, and I know horror movies are back, but the comedies are also coming back, and we are about to have the best of both worlds. In case you didn't know, the Wayans brothers are coming back to make Scary Movie 6, and Regina Hall and Anna Faris just put out a statement confirming that they will both be involved in Scary Movie 6. So their statement, we can't wait to bring Brenda and Cindy back to life and be reunited with our great friends, Keenan, Sean, and Marlon. 3 men we'd literally die for, in Brenda's case, again. This is awesome. I love the Scary Movie franchise. I think that it is foundational for an entire generation of people's sense of humor. Really, the downside of the Scary Movie and the parody movie, I think, really happened when other people besides the Wayans brothers started getting involved. I think of things like Epic Movie and Superhero Movie and some of those. I think it really just started to tarnish the sanctity of parody, if that makes sense. So you think about kind of the scale of parody. You have like the Mel Brooks Spaceballs era, you have the Wayans brothers Scary Movie era, and then we kind of got into like this really sad, like just like yuck and over. Oh my god, the Starving Games, bro. I literally completely wiped that from my memory. That was garbage. Oh wow. Yeah, that's like the far end of the scale as far as like the purity of parody. And you know, I think it also became very different too because parody became so much more accessible with the rise of online entertainment. Like, you wouldn't have to wait, you know, the full production cycle of roughly 2 years for a movie to be written, developed, shot, edited, released. 2 years for parody jokes to try and be topical when you can have, you know, Vines and YouTube skits that come up and are incredibly relevant within days of the movie coming out and make all the jokes immediately. So I think that really was the downfall of the parody movie, but I do think that there's room for it to come back and room for it to be done well. There's a lot of comedies that have released recently that I think really speak to the cultural moment that we're in and don't necessarily rely too hard on like the "oh, isn't that annoying" type of comedy of it. And I think Scary Movie was successful because yes, it did play on culturally relevant topic matters, but it mostly spoke on movies themselves and the tropes of movie makings and the expectations of movies and scary movies in particular. We are living in a renaissance of horror movies. The type of scary movies that are releasing nowadays are so incredibly different and such varying quality that I think there's a really good opportunity here for Scary Movie to just hit it out of the park. So I am lining up day one to see Scary Movie. I'm gonna try and get a group of friends together. I'm gonna try and get some drinks. Like, I'm gonna have a good time and laugh in the movie theater with this movie. And God, if for whatever reason this movie just goes straight to streaming, it's going to destroy me. It's gonna break my heart. So I hope that y'all are excited for Scary Movie. If you've never seen the Scary Movie movies, worth a rewatch. Give it a little bit of grace. Give it a little bit of grace. It is comedy was different in the early 2000s, but there's still a great time. Just a little bit of grace. We all learned a lot. Little bit of MCU news for the days. According to the Hollywood Reporter's Heat Vision blog, we can pretty confidently feel that Ryan Reynolds is returning for Avengers Doomsday. Ryan Reynolds did kind of put this tweet out there, or this Instagram picture out there, kind of maybe teasing at some of the Avengers, iconography that appeared in Deadpool and Wolverine. But as far as everyone kind of expected, Reynolds would return as Deadpool. And it looks like insiders are confirming that Deadpool will be present in Avengers Doomsday. To what extent, I don't know. I do think that Deadpool in these big team-up scenarios probably benefits from being a small dose and a small fun cameo or a small component. I don't think that you want to drag him out for much longer than you need to, given the fact that there's some seriousness and a lot of characters that are going to be in this movie. I will be excited to see more Deadpool, this isn't a complete surprise to me. We know that there's an imminent second wave of announcements for Avengers Doomsday and even more cast members coming up, so I will not be surprised to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman getting their chairs in an upcoming release. But I pose the question to you. Who has not yet been announced as an Avengers cast member that you are feeling pretty confidently will be in this movie? For me, definitely Ryan Reynolds, definitely Hugh Jackman. I think Benedict Cumberbatch. I think Tom Holland. I think Brie Larson. There's a couple Avengers who have not yet been announced that I think most definitely are going to be getting announced. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Disney is officially phasing out the Hulu app. Now, a little bit of background history on this. Disney technically became the majority shareholder in Hulu when they purchased 20th Century when they completed that acquisition. Hulu did share a lot of their ownership with some of the other studios because Hulu played nice with everyone. That was the entire premise of Hulu initially, is you get to watch newly released content a day, 2 days after it premieres on air. Hulu had a great relationship with a bunch of the major networks, and a bunch of the major networks had financial stake in Hulu's success. With the 20th Century acquisition, Disney ended up owning the majority stake in Hulu, and recently Disney went through and acquired some of the rest of Hulu, and now Hulu is going to be folded into the Disney Plus app. They will be discontinuing the standalone app, and they will be using the Hulu brand for their international Star brand that Disney uses overseas, which us Americans are not familiar with and don't need to worry about. But what does this mean? If you have Hulu, you will now only be able to access Hulu via the Disney Plus app. What does that mean if you were only a Hulu subscriber, or only a subscriber of Hulu through, for instance, the Spotify bundle deal that came for college students years ago? I have no idea. You might be having to sign up for Disney Plus. Me personally, I've had the bundle for a really long time, and my Hulu app on my TV stopped working a while ago, and so the second that they had the beta of Hulu being essentially a channel within Disney Plus, that's been the only way I've been accessing it. So for me, this doesn't really change anything. I don't mind having one less app to use. That being said, I am recognizing that this is essentially, for all intents and purposes, this is a large corporation fully swallowing up a smaller, successful streaming company. So Disney has officially taken Hulu in, and Hulu no longer is a successful startup. It is just an arm within Disney. R.I.P. We need to talk about this Superman scene. So for those who haven't seen, or maybe haven't been paying attention, this conversation has gone completely off the rails because I think there are people out there who maybe don't fully understand what the relationship between an actor and a director is supposed to look like. So, small spoiler warnings for those who haven't seen Superman. I'm flashing it on the screen. There is a moment at the end of the Superman movie. You know what? Maybe if you haven't seen Superman at this point, go watch Superman. But just in case, I'm going to leave the spoiler warning up. Near the end of the film, there is a confrontation that Superman has with Lex. It's kind of like the big climactic moment where Superman is supposed to be kind of putting it all out there for Lex. And on the press trail, both David Cornsweet and James Gunn discussed that this was something that was a little bit of a point of contention between them as to how this scene was going to take place. And as part of the digital release and the behind the scenes documentary, they actually have a clip of that conversation. And some folks are just completely misinterpreting this and saying that it's a fight and that James Gunn and David don't understand the character and all this. I'm just going to let this play, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it here.
The whole crew's sitting around waiting, like, come on, let's shoot, let's get this done. So finally, I walked off set and to talk to him in person.
He came in, came off set, and we get into this thing.
Here he goes.
So great, but the is it, am I just demonstrating?
And I love that you can hear initially people are laughing, that they're like, "Oh, come on, David."
Right, but the is it am I?
Well, it's James. James is laughing because he's like, "Oh, come on."
I just demonstrating. So if I say that's what it is to be human, that feels like I'm trying to prove it still, as opposed to I really know it.
I think there's a little bit of. I mean,
okay.
Because
let me try.
And let me just interject here, right? So what we're watching here is a Juilliard-trained actor, right? Like, David Cornsweet is as professional of an actor as you can be. He is classically trained. He is a Juilliard graduate, which is one of the most well-renowned performance art colleges in the nation. Like, he's really trying to get to the source of the character so that when he is acting, he is speaking to the truth of this character. And he is coming to his director, James Gunn, who is both the writer and the director, so that he could get a little bit more insight into what the truth is.
About myself since the recording came out. It's just been like, I don't belong, I'm shit, everything's a lie, I'm not who I thought I was. When is this not the moment where I go, I was wrong to feel that way?
That's exactly where the issue is, right?
So David is asking the question, isn't this a moment where I'm realizing that I am wrong? And James, as knowledgeable as a director as he is, he's like, oh, you're not getting it. I really need to come up to you and I really need to make sure that you understand, because that is the issue that you are feeling with your performance, and that is the issue that I am feeling with your performance. So I am going to now direct you.
That's exactly where the issue is, right? Because what he didn't tell you was it was wrong to feel that way. There are feelings and there are thoughts. Your feelings about feeling bad are okay. It's not wrong for you to feel that way.
I just love that he keeps staring down at the emblem. Like, there's got to be a little bit of like a, oh my god, like I'm getting into it with Superman right now.
You should just, it's not right or wrong anything. None of it is right or wrong. All of it is being vulnerable and being human, being a human being. And in this moment, for you to talk about how it's okay to be vulnerable, you have
And I love here what you're about to see is the moment where David like gets it.
to be vulnerable, which means showing Lex that your feelings are hurt. In the point when you really...
Great.
He goes, great, got it, right? So that was it. He was searching for it. He, as an actor, was coming to his director and saying, I'm not seeing the truth in this moment. And he tried to explain his thought process. I feel like this is what's happening. Speaking to the intensity of the scene that's happening, James, as his director, catches his misinterpretation, gives him some guidance, and as soon as he gets it, he goes, great, I got it. And he's like, put me back in, coach.
That's where you've always been wrong about me, Lex. I'm as human as anyone else. I love, I get scared. I wake up every morning and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and I try to make the best.
And look at his face. He's so proud because he's seeing it. He's getting it.
And every time you say that I don't belong, it hurts my feelings. That's being human. And that's my greatest strength.
And everyone's proud, and Peter Safran's crying because he's like, oh my god, we did it. And everyone feels proud that that's
Emotional a second ago
friggin'
because
Superman.
I really do think that what this movie is about is why do we love Superman so much? Is it because he can punch planets or pick up skyscrapers? I don't think it is. I think it's because of his innate goodness and his humanity.
So anyways, folks, I really felt like I had to sit here and kind of explain this a little bit because a lot of the conversation surrounding this clip, I believe, is really misguided and is interpreting this as a confrontation and as a fight. And some people are using it to say that James doesn't understand Superman or that David doesn't understand Superman. And on top of that, the fact that, this is a scene where a character is flat out like telling the villain who he is, right? It's a monologue. It's a little bit performative. It's a little Shakespearean. It's a little bit in your face, but it's on theme for Superman. And in the context of the film itself, I think it plays really well. And so I think folks need to kind of get off of their, get off of their Twitter fingers and just recognize that what they just got a peek into here is actually an incredible moment of an actor looking to act and a director directing. So that's all I have to say about that one. On a completely separate note here, A24 gives us our first look at the Backrooms film, which is now officially in production and will be coming out in 2026. This is just really fun and cool. The Backrooms, if you're not aware, is a series of horror shorts that have released on YouTube over the past few years. A single person essentially developed all of this on CGI render engines, making it look like found footage of these terrifying, scary rooms. It's this creepy, non sequitur, non-linear story, and it's become very huge on YouTube over the years, and A24 is helping them develop it into a full feature film. So this is super exciting. It's another case of somebody just having a creative story to tell and using, the democratization of content to put it out there on YouTube, and it finding its audience and it growing into something much larger, and it's being turned into a full film with cast and crew and production designers and practical sets and all this stuff. So super exciting to see it happen. I mean, it's literally like the dream scenario for small independent filmmakers, is that you have an original idea, that you're able to execute on your idea, and people see the value of it. And in a rare case like this, it's a studio like A24 essentially giving folks the budget to be able to put their movie through the finish line, or put their story through the finish line. So I will be eager to see how this goes. I have not watched any of the Backrooms online. I'm tempted not to, and just to wait for the movie, unless it's one of those things where I will be benefiting more from seeing the shorts before seeing the film. But are you excited for the Backrooms? Are you going to be checking this one out when it hits theaters? I'm definitely keeping my eye on it, because this is one of those great Hollywood success stories. And yeah, absolutely. I love that we're giving people a chance to explore the thing they're passionate about even more, and that this is a case where somebody was already so passionate and so devoted to this one thing, and a studio saw like, yes, we see you, we see your passion in this, do this, just continue to do what you're doing. Yes, throw the money at the weirdos. The horror movies, the comedies, all that stuff. Enable the filmmakers who have things to say, 100%. Speaking of throwing money at things, we mentioned earlier that Paramount is now under new ownership with the Skydance acquisition, and on top of revealing some of the other things like potential Star Trek sequels, we also got confirmation that it is a priority for the new Paramount execs to develop a new World War Z movie. World War Z is a very interesting period in filmmaking. World War Z was an extremely successful book, an intellectual property that essentially was a series of anthology stories cataloged into a single book. Those book rights were sold and made into World War Z, which was just a weird amalgamation of filmmaking. And yes, Peens and Rice in chat, you called it. That movie ends with them figuring out a cure to the virus. This movie's production history, if you haven't learned about it, is absolutely fascinating. They essentially threw out everything from the novel except for the title, and they were figuring out this script as they were filming this movie. There was several different alternate endings shot. The entire movie was basically saved in the edit and in reshoots, and for some reason this movie was a success. It came out close to the end, probably right before the full, cascading of the zombie pop culture craze. There was a period where zombies or vampires were super big, and then zombies were big, and we move on to the next thing as we always do. So it's interesting that for whatever reason this movie did well. Yeah, I guess to be fair, both Brad Pitt and zombies were relevant, and this movie had those had Brad Pitt and had zombies. I'd be very curious to see what a new film in this franchise means. Is it more Brad Pitt? Is it a return to what the actual novel is and more anthology sort of stories? Is it going to be a prequel? Is it going to be a sequel? Is the cure no longer relevant? To give the movie some credit, it actually was really creative what they came up with as far as the cure for the zombie virus. So we will see. We will see what they do here, but this does feel like the new Paramount execs going, what do we have that's kind of successful IP that we can just like start throwing money at to get people to go to the movie theaters again? This to me, honestly, feels like the wrong lesson being learned from executives. And they go, what, people are watching horror movies again? World War Z, more zombies. Oh man, you're right. It's totally going to be a COVID parallel. Oh, you called it, man. You totally called it. It's totally going to be an incredibly outdated 7 years too late COVID parallel. Oh, and it's not going to have anything actually interesting to say about like culture, or vaccine usage, or anything like that. It's just going to be a shoddily rushed script. The reason I'm not optimistic about this, and the reason that I don't think I'm going to be seated day one in the theaters for this, is because this would be an entirely different thing if it was the filmmakers behind World War Z have a new story they want to tell. Or, you know, Brad Pitt hasn't stopped thinking about World War Z since he filmed it, and he's so excited to go back and film again. It's the fact that this is the new corporate leadership, the new CEO who is put in place because we have gone through a corporate merger, says this is the priority. That just feels like not the right lesson at all. Yeah, someone saw The Last of Us and took all the wrong lessons from it. Yes. Yes, period. Period. That is exactly it. You really think that Paramount, the company that just hold on, no. Skydance Paramount, the company that just canceled The Late Show, that just settled a lawsuit with the current administration. You think that Paramount Skydance is going to make a zombie movie and speak to the current state of public and federal administrations serving people to their health needs? You think they're going to have an RFK Jr. allegory? You think they're going to have anything actually interesting to say? Skydance Paramount, who just successfully completed a monopoly level merger because they bent the knee. No, absolutely not. And we're still not getting Batgirl. You're absolutely right. I'm not watching this. Home Alone director Chris Columbus says it would be a mistake to make a reboot of the film. I think Home Alone really exists as, not at this timepiece, but it was this very special moment, and you really can't recapture that. And folks, I just think this is hilarious. Now, all respect to Chris Columbus, I think that he is a really... I think Chris Columbus is an incredibly talented filmmaker. Chris Columbus famously brought the first two Harry Potter films to life. He really knocked it out of the park with Home Alone. But for him to say that we can't reboot this film, that it's a perfect time capsule of what it is, Chris, you made a second Home Alone. You made a Home Alone 2. Now, Lost in New York, Home Alone 2, is a great film too. And maybe Chris Columbus was thinking about 1 and 2 kind of as a single entity because they're sequels to one another and it's the same cast and it's the same story. So maybe that's not what he meant by a reboot. So what is a reboot categorically, if not just taking the title and putting new cast in it and trying all over again? Well, Chris Columbus, we did that with Home Alone 3, which featured an entirely new little kid and an entirely new set of bandits breaking alone. But maybe Chris Columbus forgot about Home Alone 3. Maybe, you know, he, like all of us, kind of blocked out the Home Alone that had the little parrot sidekick and everything else. But Chris Columbus, Did you forget about Home Alone Taking Back the House? Home Alone 4, which also featured a new little kid and a new set of bandits and a new home, might I add, with the returning of the Macaulay Culkin face. But you know what? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he forgot Home Alone 3 and Home Alone 4 Taking Back the House. And maybe those reboots didn't count. He meant he didn't want to see a reboot, like an altogether reimagination of Home Alone the Holiday Heist, direct to Freeform or ABC Family. This one I didn't even think this one was real. I had to like double triple check that I wasn't being pranked. This was a real movie. Why is it called a holiday heist? All of them are holiday movies. This is implied in all of the Home Alone movies. They all take place during Christmas. But look. This was technically, Home Alone 5. This was technically Home Alone 4. This was technically Home Alone 3. So maybe Christopher Columbus said, I don't want them to just do a complete reboot of Home Alone that is, modernized and, I don't know, made directly for streaming and came out in 2022 and was called Home Sweet Home Alone. They did this like 2-3 years ago. Chris Columbus, are you not paying attention to your own franchise? So, you know what? Maybe Chris Columbus is right. Maybe we shouldn't remake Home Alone because we have already done it 4 fucking times. So YouTube is making a play to host the Oscars. This I found really fascinating. Now, if y'all didn't know, over the last few years, YouTube has actually become the highest streaming service, period. More folks are watching YouTube on their TV than any other streaming service or network. So YouTube is trying to get their seat at the table for some of these big deal components. Walt Disney's ABC has had the Oscars on their network for nearly 50 years, but their contract is coming up for renegotiation, and everybody wants the Oscars. Universal wants it for NBC. CBS just lost the Grammys, so they're looking for something big. Netflix is always looking to be involved in these greater productions, and Amazon is really getting invested into live production, so everybody wants a bite of it. But surprisingly, YouTube is throwing their hat in the ring, trying to get a bite of the Oscars apple. And honestly, I think that this would be the biggest solve for the Oscars sort of viewership going down, is to just put it out for free on YouTube. Now, would YouTube make it a premium sort of upgradable thing on YouTube TV or YouTube Premium? I don't fully know, but I think YouTube has enough advertiser revenue and would be able to sell the Oscars well enough that they probably could just throw it on for free. YouTube has been making the rounds in getting more live events. They have the NFL Sunday Ticket that they started successfully last year and are continuing this year. YouTube has also been getting in the mix with a lot of live sports, and YouTube has a really good track record for massive successful live premieres. The New Heights podcast that just premiered this week with Taylor Swift in it is a huge selling point that they can lean on of, hey, we can handle this massive amount of viewership. So Oscars on YouTube, I think, would be successful and would make sense. I do see the sentiment in chat here that the Oscars has kind of maybe lost a lot of respect for the general public, given that the types of films that are being awarded and some of the recent news that have come out in the past year about the fact that they don't even have to watch all the selections in order to vote, which is crazy. They finally amended that rule, which is insane that had to be a rule that they had to add anyways. But I do think that the Oscars and the Academy, if they want to stay relevant, need to follow the audience and follow the everyday people. And honestly, they're on YouTube, so it makes the most sense. I don't know that I imagine seeing YouTube outbidding other networks, or even, Walt Disney, ABC themselves. I'm sure they're going to be putting in a really hefty negotiation for their contract going up, but we will see. I'm curious, if you're somebody who watches the Oscars, does the network that it streams on make a difference to you? Do you care if it's on ABC? Do you care if it's on YouTube? For me, I think it makes sense to make it available somewhere like YouTube. I think that would fix a lot of the issues. And ultimately, the way I look at it, if the Oscars has gone to becoming a little bit more niche and not necessarily as available to general audiences for some of the movies that are happening, increasing the reach of the Oscars, in my mind, just means that more people are going to get exposed to some really good cinema and some really good art. And so now, if somebody could figure out some sort of companion pass situation where you get to also get access to nominated movies somehow, like, now we'd really be talking, but that's a problem for another day. Our last story for the day, Gavin Newsom is making film great again, at least in California. Over the past few months, Gavin Newsom in the state of California has been doing a lot of work to try and get productions back into LA. If you've been around the stream before, we've talked about it many times over. Film production jobs have been leaving California, and frankly, they have been leaving the country. Big studios like Walt Disney, Marvel, Warner Brothers, and other large, prominent American studios are choosing to film their movies and their television shows overseas. Places like London, Australia, Vancouver, Canada, all over the world, rather than filming in the United States, because it is very expensive to do so. There's a lot of different reasons for it. There's tax incentives, there's union workers, there's a lot that contributes to the reason as to why filming production has gotten more expensive to do and more expensive to do locally. But California has been putting in a lot of work to get studios to come back to California. Famously, other states like the state of Georgia, state of New Mexico have been doing a lot to, state of Texas as well, have been doing a lot to incentivize studios to film there. But California, the home of Hollywood, is looking to be that once again. And they have revealed that over the last month, they saw a 400% spike in applications for tax credits. And those applications come from a variety of different reasons. First and foremost, those applications are coming from productions that are filming in the state of California. They more than doubled their TV incentives from $330 million to $750 million, meaning that there's more money to spare for different sort of tax incentives for productions that are filming in the state of California. Before 35 to 40% of qualified production costs, before it was 20 to 25% of production costs. They upped that now to 35 to 40%. In television, a massive change that they've done in terms of eligibility for some of these tax incentives is that the threshold has been lowered to 20 minutes of television. Before, it had to be at least 40 minutes long. Now this means that sitcoms and 22-minute or 30-minute half-hour shows now qualify for these tax eligibility. And a big component, which I didn't even know about this initially, but the tax credit is now refundable, meaning that that companies can get cash back if they don't have state tax liability, which basically means that studios could be making money for coming in under budget and filming in the state of California. So all in all, what does this mean? Honestly, good news. This means that the studios are going to be more incentivized to film locally, to film in California. There are a lot of people in California outside of actors and directors who work in film production who have frankly been having a tough time recently because of all of the productions moving overseas. I actually made a YouTube video about this. I will link it in the YouTube video. For those of you watching live, you're just going to have to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. But I made a YouTube video talking about the film production sort of trickle down effect that happens from productions leaving local areas, all the way from obviously the big executive level to, you know, local businesses and local contractors and freelancers and food service providers and hotel workers and bellhops who get cash tips, right? There's so many levels of impact that film productions have. Yes, thank you. So, hey, thanks for watching. There really is a lot more to it than just the people that you see in front of the camera. And all in all, this is a good sign and hopefully gets more people working in entertainment. So good job. Good job, Gavin Newsom. Good job, California. Georgia, Texas, y'all are next, man. Come on. It's crazy. Georgia, Atlanta used to have all the Marvel movies, and now they're all filming in London. Why? Bring them back to Georgia. Come on, y'all. Yeah, absolutely. You forget how many people are affected, but that is exactly why, and I love that you bring it up. That is exactly why, you know, Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios put the post-credit tags, because it really makes you sit and realize that every single name you see on screen is somebody who directly works on that film. But the component that you have to like really think about too, all those people have families, right? Most of those people have families, have friends, have people in their lives that they are able to support because of the work that they're getting and the trickle down effect, right? I buy a cup of coffee from my local coffee shop because I can afford it, because I have a job, right? Like I spend money at, you know, at this local vendor at the farmer's market because I got paid last week, so I can afford to do that, right? Like it all trickles out to the local economy, not to mention the fact that when it comes to production too, especially if folks are flying in for production or traveling for production, that just expands even further. But I made a whole video about that. Y'all can watch it and let me know what you think. Curious if there's anybody out there who works in film production, if you have been affected by you know, the lack of production or productions going overseas, and are you looking forward to more of these tax incentives, and what's the word on the street? Are you seeing things changing? I'm very curious to know. And folks, if you can believe it, that is it for today. I mentioned at the top of stream, it's a little bit of a slow week. It's a little bit of a slow week for movies, but I think we've earned it as we're coming down to the end of the summer blockbuster season. It was very busy July, busy first couple weeks in August, but now we're winding down as we're getting into the start of fall. But folks, if you hung around to watch live, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're catching this on YouTube and you want to be watching Movie News Monday on a Monday, well, hey, we do that live on Twitch. So come on by. It is free to make an account. You can pop in on chat and we can talk and hang out, and you can interrupt the stream and make fun of me for when I mispronounce things. Chad, if you got here late, or if you're just stumbling across this video, make sure you subscribe and check out some of our other Movie News Mondays or some of our other deep dives. We like to do tier lists, breakdowns, a lot of random things. So stick around if you want to learn more about the world of entertainment. If you want to know when I'm going live, your best bet is to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I will always let you know when I'm live there. And I'll also send y'all a couple little clips from stream that are a good time. But folks, thank you so much for hanging out for this Movie News Monday. I am Jupiter Gorg. I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I will be seeing you at the movies. Take it easy. Have a good rest of your week, and I will see y'all later.